So how is everyone?
Thank you, fine. It's raining outside. Give some free time.
Yeah, it's been snowing here, so also free time.
In Switzerland, it's raining too.
Yeah. Oh, it's a perfect day to do this then.
Yeah, and it's Saturday, so yeah.
So has everyone ordered or tried a PC board at least? I know I have. I got the original basic one, and the connectors are along the edge. That doesn't work, and I modified, made the holes bigger for wires and made the holes bigger for the 3 amp diode and things like that. And I haven't tried the new board out, but I did put that settings video I made that with the original basic PC board, and yeah, it seems to work perfectly with the code that's there. I didn't have any, I mean, other than layout, everything seemed to work absolutely really well. The ADS 1115 works super duper good. That's the first time I've ever tried to use it, so it works really well. Love to hear anyone else's experience.
Better.
Well, as of now, ours are in the making. Mr. Doppelgrau is eager to do some soldering. I don't know eager, but he's at least preparing the surface-mounted devices, which saves us a lot of pain in the ass. So thank you for that. I'm also happy to switch to the ESP32 platform. Had a lot of pain in the ass recently with USB, broken connectors, potential differences. So it's I'm kind of really looking forward to getting rid of USB.
Well, I received the boards today. I haven't received the parts yet since they needed to be baked. I found it kind of funny that PCB parts need to be baked. But after reading that, it's to get the humidity out of the parts so they won't pop when they are heated during soldering. But for some parts, I think the recipe for baking wasn't directly available. So the parts are currently, I'm waiting on it, but they promised me that I get them in the next week. So on the next weekend, I might start soldering. But since I have received the boards, I might show them. So for reference, the first one, the version 1, I have shown, I think, the last time I was, or the time before. But since I was packing a few more features on it, the board has gone a bit more complex. So a few more features is meaning we have Ethernet using the integrated MAC on the ESP32. We have a CAN driver. We have a new IMU. We have some more LEDs. We have a relay that can be used for some sort of outputs. We have 2 motor drivers. And total, I think it's 6 input, 3 12 volt or 15 volt tolerant, 3 for 5 volts, where you can use 2 of them for differential measuring. So it's for the ADS. Well, that was it basically, and we have, of course, I2C for extensions, USB for programming. Oh, I've forgotten AS232 for putting out, well, for other devices. So that's the reason why this board was getting a bit more complex compared to the old one. And one of the other main differences between the complexity is on the first board, there was place for putting an ESP32 eval board on top of the board in a socket. And in this board, the ESP32 is soldered directly on the board. So there is not the problem anymore which development board has a compatible pin layout, and well, and every connection that doesn't exist can't make any problems. That was at least my reasoning to make it that complex. So, but this is the opposite of the keep it simple, stupid approach that Brian has shown, because this board has, well, Ethernet, it has a port expander, so we have enough IOs for the LEDs in the end. We have 2 motor drivers included, can RS232 relays, Ethernet, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, whatever. But it's, well, it's a bit more complex in the end.
So perhaps you guys don't know me. I'm a Swiss farmer. I do kind of a lot of embedded programming, so I was like predestined to get an open source solution for the tracking and tractor steering. So this is my kind of way to come to AgOpenGPS. I've done recently a new software for the ESP32. Perhaps if you want, I present it to you. It's kind of a complete rewrite of the coffee track version. So it uses a new web UI. It's completely configured from the Wi-Fi. I don't know if I can turn the camera, I hope, but give me some time. So I present it like in 5 minutes.
We have a screen sharing feature too. If you use the same, if you have your camera on the desktop, you can use screen sharing.
No, it's not on the desktop, but perhaps I can log in with another account. So give me some time.
And if you would like to share your screen, it would be on the bot. If you hit Alt-S, you should be able to share your screen.
Yeah,
if you're interested in doing that.
I'm doing the conference with my tablet, so.
Oh, okay.
Oh, did you have sound problems as well, Wilbert?
I did. Yeah, I had to call in. I don't know why it didn't work at first. I'm in on a different computer. Maybe that's why. Anyway,
yeah, okay.
sorry about that.
Hey, Christian, does it work to point the camera of the tablet to your desktop?
Yeah, I think it would, but in 2 minutes I log in with another account, so it should work also with screen sharing, because the quality would be much better.
Okay, while we're here, I'm seeing that we're already 12 minutes in, and apologies for the technical difficulties there. We had a few things listed there that we wanted to maybe talk through as far as discussion points. So we did a little bit about PCB. Maybe we can come back to that a little bit. I had a few suggestions from Andreas and the rest of the guys in the German-speaking AgOpenGPS group on Telegram. And one of the things they had talked about was some suggestions for maybe GitHub and suggested collaborations there. I think there's a few people there that are in that group. Would you guys care to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think I would present it. Like, we had this idea of improving AgOpenGPS, and we brainstormed for about a week, and then we made a Google documents with the important points. So I shared with you guys later if you want in chat function, but I don't know this app, so it's kind of, it's a bit complicated for me. So just to get the gist of it. So AgOpenGPS is like in a state or in a progress to attract more devs, like developers. So, and there's, if you have more guys to write code for it, you have to have some kind of organization of these people. So first we discussed about development tools like Slack, which is basically a tool to chat about code and coordinate it. And then there was also the thing like GitHub. So we already use GitHub, and it's kind of used suboptimal like now, I think, in my opinion, because the code is like documented not so well. It's normal for a project which basically just one guy who does it. My code looks the same in first stages, so no problem there. But GitHub has like these features like wiki, like integrated wiki. So, and I think like the wiki on GitHub has to be used for development things like definition of interfaces, coordinating people like roadmaps or features to implement or to-do lists. And then you have the features like issues. You have this bug tracker, integrated bug tracker. You can communicate with other people's like users who want different functions or features implemented, or even and then or finding bugs. It's normal and it's used already, so no difference there. But you also have pull requests, so different people can develop at the same time and interchange their code. So get their code into different repositories. That's one of the main features of GitHub, like the function to fork, like to make another version, but based on it. We also have this wiki on Andreas' site, on Ortner's site, like agopengps.gh/-ortner.com. And I think this wiki is more for user side of things, but we have to have some place to do the development side of things, like documenting interfaces and things like that, and coordinate ourselves. And then different things like if you want to develop the software together, so all commits have to have a meaningful message. That's kind of normal, but sometimes it's kind of strange what the commit message says and what's implemented with it. Then there's a thing like Git itself can have cheap branches, computationally speaking. So you can do like branches in like a quarter second, and you can merge them back quite easy. So if you want to implement different things, you can just make a branch, implement it there, and merge it back. And that's also a nice coordination thing. Like the main developer or the main administrator can give someone the rights to make branches in their repository. They can develop things there, and then they say to the administrator, like, yeah, I've implemented this feature, you you like it, you can merge it. So he has the right, or the coordination side is done there. Also, and that's, I think, a point for me, don't check in binary things like the whole AgOpenGPS.exe thing, because Git isn't really optimal to do binary things. And there's on GitHub the releases function. You can zip it up, the application, and then you can load it up. And then the user just has to download one single zip and don't have to check out the whole repository things. He doesn't really know what to do, because if we're honest, the normal user of AgOpenGPS doesn't really have any kind of idea what to make out of code. So it would be simplification of the process. And also, now the exe is built with the whole debug stuff on, and that makes, on my system, makes like 30% more FPS if you build it with release function, so with release stuff. So yeah, it's, and also it's like, it's you have to separate like the code part and the release part, like the binary part, because it isn't the thing to do binary. And then also there's a feature of Git itself is like submodules. So you can reference other repository into the tree of a repository. And I've done this like really much. My software, if I add a library, is more like small stuff, small code of me normally. And then you have like the lib or folder, which is basically just like 7 or 8 different other repositories, which are just referenced, not copied. So if some change is made in the other repository, you can, in the main repository, you can just say, yeah, it's updated. So you update it with a commit, and then the library is put to another state, to another commit. So it's basically, you reference different repositories on a really defined state of commit.
Can I just chime in there for a minute, Christian? I think I was having a little trouble understanding all the audio there. It might just be my phone connection, but we've also got just a little bit of, about 20 minutes left. Maybe, Brian, did you want to comment on any of that, or what's your thinking that way? Are you happy with GitHub the way it is, or I guess trying to sum things up, I think what you're saying, Christian, is you would like just a little bit more ease of input as far as being able to contribute a little chunk of code and then having it from a different fork and then having it merged back in, and maybe making that a little bit more friendly and then tidying that up. Is that would be the kind of quick summation of what you said?
Yeah, just basically just use GitHub to the most extent there is.
Got it.
Basically,
okay.
All the functions which are already in GitHub, you have to use it.
Just use what's there. So what's your thought there, Brian, on it's kind of your baby, and now we want to help raise your baby, so to speak. So what's your take on that?
I'd love for this baby to be up for adoption, actually. If someone was willing to adopt it, I'm more than happy to give it away. Everything Christian is saying is absolutely right. I just completely lack skills to set any of that up or do it. That's the number one problem. I struggle enough trying to come up with the yards of math it takes to do some of the new ideas. I think my strength lies in, don't want to sound arrogant. My strength kind of lies in taking an idea like variable rate and the concept of taking a picture and making it work. My strength does not lie in everything that Christian just said. I hope that makes sense. I'm like, I can come up with ideas, but AgOpenGPS started out as, and I'm setting that up today in our air seeder. I'm just building a simple 2 relay and an Arduino to do section control on our on-the-go treater and our drill. And that's all it does. It just knows where it's been and where it has been. And that's where this project started. And then as the ideas have come along, as anyone who's gone through the C# code and the graphical interface and everything talking and UDP and ntrip and everything working together it's almost 30,000 lines of code now. It's getting beyond my ability to keep any of it straight. And everything, like it's such a weird program. Christian, I think you can relate to this too. Generally, a program is a bunch of modules, and then you can group those modules into areas. But AgOpenGPS is like your first basic program, where everything is related and is almost all local variables. And that entire frickin' AgOpenGPS, every class depends on every other class. And maybe it's the way I started it programming. It is, the whole AgOpenGPS is such an interrelated AB line. Uses steering, it uses, all the mapping, it uses everything. And what I cannot do is figure out how to segment that program. And I'm sure if someone was educated in programming, they would be able to look at that and be able to sort that out into modules. I've tried to break it down into these chunks, but every chunk so intimately depends on every other chunk that it just becomes one big chunk. I hope, does that make sense, Christian?
Yeah, that was the other point we discussed in our group, like segmenting it back to kind of maintainable state, because now it's as you said, it's one big chunk, one big soup of public variables which interconnect, and one part of code accesses that and then back, and so it's really, really complicated to just. I
understand it.
Yeah, originally I wanted to add another PGN, and I just gave kind of up because it was so complicated. So I started to tidy it a bit up. I think it is possible, but it's really, really much work. So if
you have to start again to make a long, you literally have to start again.
Yeah.
It's kind of like building an air seeder, but you've never seen the field. You're not a farmer, and you've never seen an air seeder before.
Yeah, it's
right?
Exactly.
When you're done building the air seeder and you've seeded 3 years, well, now you could go back and now you could do a much better job. And AgOpenGPS, there was no public code. Had no clue how to do any of these algorithms. And the true value of where AgOpenGPS is today is just the fact that we have all these algorithms, and publicly we know how to do everything, including driving around obstacles and doing variable rate and doing self-driving. And, we talked about decomposition last time and how to break up a field and do these things. I mean, we have all these concepts. Now it just takes a really good programmer or somebody that actually understands how to program and make a legible and understandable and, updatable kind of a program.
Yeah, I think that's kind of my ability to take something and make it more maintainable, make it more accessible. But I don't really have any idea of 3D programming. Like OpenGL is like not in my league, and I don't have the math to do things. So I think we can supplement each other with our abilities to do that. So yeah, and
I think you just signed yourself up for a job, Christian.
yeah, I thought that too, like 2 weeks ago. But when on the moment I've done my ESP32 software, I thought, yeah, that would be a project like for the next couple of years.
Hey, I'll give you the password to my whole GitHub account and straighten everything out. Like the other thing to consider, OpenGPS is like a video game, and video games break a lot of rules of programming in order to achieve one thing. And guess what that is?
Performance.
Exactly. Right? I don't want to create another class every frame just so it looks good and is understandable in programming. Does that make sense? Like, you don't want to take, 20 megabytes of create another class just so that you can not have to reference it in another place. If I think Christian has disappeared.
Yep.
Does that make sense? Like a global variable is very fast. And when we're talking about a huge class, like Dubins, like to create Dubins, I don't know if you've looked through the Dubins code.
No.
It is obscenely complicated to me anyway. I'm not that good with math, but it creates about 5 or 6 classes within itself. And in order to go from, like, the U-turn uses a Dubins class. You want to go from where you are to where you want to end up, and it'll create the curve. It'll create, the keyhole curve, that sort of thing. But within that, it has to create a whole bunch of classes. Now you can imagine, like, as soon as you hit U-turn, what does your tractor do? It has to turn. So the computer can't take 3 seconds to calculate a U-turn. It has to do it in 10 milliseconds. Right? Yeah. I can write very pretty code that everyone can understand, but your tractor is going to drive into the trees before it calculates that stupid curve. And I keep running into that. And then, like you say, to merge it with OpenGL code and all the OpenGL and all the graphics. I mean, I'm pretty proud of the OpenGL part of it. Like, it works really nice. Like, it's super duper smooth. And the only way you can do that is break all the rules of programming. But the downside of all that is it's completely illegible. It is really hard. And I know Andrew's smiling because Tyler has tried to go through it too. And he's like, what the hell is this guy doing? Every code is related, or every class can access every other class by reference.
Yeah, I saw that.
You make one change one place, it will affect everything. And then when you say if somebody who just wants to add some code, well, if they don't know all the intimate details, then it is so easy to break AgOpenGPS. But when it runs perfectly. It runs forever. So my thoughts, that is completely not helpful. But that's the animal that's been created.
Yeah, but it's a way to make software run. And that's, But I think if we can optimize it, like make it more maintainable, I think we can do things, a couple of things we can, like the network layer and the link layer, like the serial output input. I think we can make more maintainable. The graphics things, in the end, it's performance there. So, but I think we can start with like a new indentation format at first. But that's that's to the liking of the developer to do. So I can make a per position, like a fork and a pull request for the indentation. And if you like it, you can use it. So yeah, because I think like, yeah, it's too less time to discuss all this like indentation thing. But I think I can make a proposal, a fork pull request, and then you can look at it. So
if I understand how to do a pull request.
And one comment about the performance. Of course, it's if you make too many abstractions, it really hurts performance. But if you put the variables into some classes and just use getter and setters, so they are more or less global still, because the compiler optimizes it away, but it becomes a bit more structured, so it might become more understandable, even if it's on in real or still more or less global variables. But you have put an abstraction interface. Of course, it won't work for everything. I think it won't work for all the graphic stuff. But at least for some part, it might work to put them in some classes where they belong logically. So it becomes a bit more easier to understand without a huge performance penalty.
Yeah, I think that too. Like we have to have like clear data ownership. Like steer class owns the steer angle. So, and if you have like the input-output layer, like PGNs going out or going in, so they access this value. So I think with this kind of simple improvements, we can cut, like, I think a lot of code, because I looked at it from the PGN perspective, like the network layer, and then you're basically doing an array with the byte values, and then you convert it back and forth from these values. So if you have like a float for the angle, and then just and the packets are generated like 10 times a second, so there wouldn't be much cost to generate them on the fly, like every time new. So, and then you have like this segmentation, a start of segmentation. We can do like quite easy.
I think another challenge would be to connect to controllers outside from which is some have developed a web interface like Wilhelm E. or Christian did actually for the ESP. I think two basic possibilities: either go to the external stuff with web interface, or put it back by AgOpenGPS has a steer controller, so you can use the values in controller or in the web interface.
Matthias, I think you're breaking up there. Anybody else? Can anybody else hear Matthias? No. Okay. I'm just going to break in here for just a minute. I'm seeing that we've got 3 minutes left. I put a little link in the chat box there to try out this Jitsi thing as an alternative to this. So I'm Dutch in origin, and so I'm cheap and I don't want to pay for stuff. So if you you can join us there in a little bit, in about it says 2 minutes and 30 seconds or so. In the meantime, is there any other things we want to tie up? I didn't mean to cut you off there, Matthias. Maybe did you want to try and say again what you wanted to say, and see if we can hear you a little better?
Okay, let's try again. You can hear me? It's better? Yeah, thanks. Okay. I think another challenge would be how to set up the external controllers like Arduino or ESP Wilhelm Eder created the web interface, and Christian also. And the first step is here controller can make settings in AgOpenGPS. One skill interface, and set up. And if you have an external web interface, it's more related to the hardware. So it's, both are, but if you have to get one, it might be easier. So it's a subject to make interfaces.
I don't know if we quite caught all of that there, but to the extent that there's a ESP32 interface, right, that you had wanted to put in.
Yeah, trying create a very nice ESP, but I think for the user, you have to make settings in the ESP interface, and additionally you can make the DAC like get controller and put zero on the country.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Matthias. It's coming through kind of garbled again. I don't think we can quite understand you. What we're going to do now is our meeting's just about wrapped up here before we time out. So if we can, we'll head on over to the Jitsi site where we'll try that one time through, and you can see the link there on the chat box, and we'll continue from there. So with that, I think we're going to sign out, and we'll see you on the other site. All right. Bye-bye.